Well, it's time for another Gerson Comments Spectacular, because we've been having a fabulous conversation with Ricardo Monsamo Fellini. I had no idea if that's how you pronounce his name properly, but there you go. And this is on the Gerson Lies and Side Effects video I did back where we were looking at the side effects you can have while on the Gerson Therapy that they claim there are none. So I'm doing this video again, and I've done a number like these before, to show these are the people, you know, I have to deal with, and these are the people that are so, I don't know, they're either really far gone or they're just absolutely being conned and brainwashed by these people. There's no other explanation for it. So Ricardo starts. Or Ricardo, as he shall be called. What I really like of the Gerson Therapy, which you don't have, is that there are any proof for the things you are saying. Apparently you didn't watch the video. I think most of the things you say are just words coming from doctors, brainwashed by their own theological books, and so on. Their own theoretical books. Because, you know, medical books aren't based on facts, according to Ricardo. Chemotherapy do depress. Sorry, he's obviously Italian, but I'll translate, or do my best to. Does it depress the immune system? Yes, because that's what it has to do. It's a side effect, but guess what? There are tablets and drugs that they give you so that your immune system gets better faster. Gerson Therapy includes high variety of vegetables, and there are key vegetables which have to be always taken in a high amount, such as carrots. I see many people recovered from cancer by doing the Gerson Therapy, people sent back to home to die or given 2 years to live with chemo. Why do they want to spend so much energy on this when why do you want to spend so much energy on this when hopeless people do get healed? By the way, you don't look really healthy, blah 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 blah. Usual you're fat insult that these people like to send. Okay, my response was basically, the Gerson Therapy has never been proven to work. It is quackery, proven quackery. The people you talk about are never followed up on, never. And when they have followed up on these people, it's never very good. In fact, if you go on the Skeptic one, which has if you look at it on Skeptic Dictionary, which has the most recent one, they followed up 5 people, sent home, cured, by the way, on the Gerson Therapy. 4 had died, succumbed to the cancer, and 1 was pretty much had relapsed into cancer and was dying now of cancer. Yeah. People who do the Gerson Therapy and then are told that they are cured, no. No. Then he goes, come on, all the testimonials. Are they all paid or are they all liars? Unfortunately, they are lied to. And testimonials are no means evidence. They are not evidence at all that this therapy works, because all you need is one person to get lucky for your particular type of woo-woo, and all of a sudden your woo-woo now works. Doesn't matter that they were taking medicine, that they've had surgery, they've had chemotherapy, or whatever. It's your woo-woo that healed them, not anything else. Or you just need someone to get lucky and someone to go into remission, and it does happen. People do go into, have had, really bad stage 4 cancer. There's nothing, modern medicine can do for them. They go into remission, they've healed. It happens. There are documented cases of it happening. And unfortunately these people sometimes happen to be on the Gerson therapy, and oh look, our therapy works. Just like Jessica Ainscott and her mother, who both made testimonials, by the way, Ricardo, and who are both, by the way, dead of their cancer. I did respond to him saying that, you know, how bad testimonials are, and particularly when you're in the science field, because if you accept testimonials, then, as I said before, you have to accept ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster are all real as well, because that's the level of... that's what we're talking about when you're doing these things, and they don't understand. And Ricardo doesn't. Because Ricardo responds, no, testimonials are much better than theoretical works like you have read. You know, I work in research, and we'll get back to that later on. And I perfectly know that to publish some new theory, some new approach, or some new methodology, you don't just make a literature review from books, you have to demonstrate that a theory works. Yes, with evidence. And they've never been able to do it, Ricardo, I'm sorry. But they've never been able to do it. And that is why any treatment needs testimonials to prove it works. No, it doesn't need testimonials, not at all. Because testimonials are worth diddly squat in this field. I'm sorry, but they are. It's anecdotal evidence at best. Now, I perfectly know that on some people the therapy may not work, but to say that it's a very dangerous thing to do, that you will die and so on, really, where is your bias apart from reading? That's not bias at all, that has actually happened. Again, as I've said before, how about Jessica Ainscott and her mother, who again went on the Gerson therapy, told they were cured, and then went on to die of their cancer. Jessica Ainscott's mother in particular is a very, very huge red flag for you, Ricardo, because explain to me why a woman who had a very treatable symptom of breast cancer could be very treated very easily by modern medicine. She wouldn't have even needed chemotherapy. Went on the Gerson therapy and then died of that breast cancer. Now you say it doesn't work for everyone. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work at all. And people who think that it works, they are absolutely being lied to. I bring this up as a researcher, you will know that you need to provide evidence, that the testimonials are not accepted as scientific evidence. The line, the Gerson therapy does not work and has no evidence at all. And then Ricardo responds, well, I can say the same for chemo. Oh, you have no evidence. Chemo is poison for the whole body. Charlotte Gerson often says that sometimes chemo works because the tumour grabs everything very quickly, included the poison. But the immune, which you have, poisoned the rest of your body, and you can't have it back. You can. There are loads of people out there that have had chemotherapy that are perfectly fine now. Again, Charlotte Gerson is lying to you and knows nothing, because your immune system has nothing to do with curing cancer. Yes, there is immunotherapy now that is being developed, but guess what? The reason why you need, and what would need probably in the future, immunotherapy is because your current immune system, regardless of how good it is, cannot detect cancer cells, because cancer cells mask themselves. That's why the immune system doesn't get rid of them. That is basic, simple science, and yet these people just can't understand it. Whereas the Gerson therapy is much more consistent. You put nutrients and detoxificants into your body so that the body can fight the tumour. No, it can't fight the tumour at all. You want to look at the testimonials? Well, I'm sorry, but I have, and testimonials are not even worth looking at. They're not evidence at all. You know, you should be looking at what's going on inside the body, for example, measuring tumour sizes and, you know, what effect it's having on the body. Did I measure that? No. And we'll get onto that later as well. I know quite a large number of people who die with chemo, who got the worst chemo, but I see lots of testimonials healed with the Gerson therapy, so why should I think it doesn't work? Because testimonials are not enough to prove something works. Again, as I said before, you must have to believe a heck of a lot of stuff if you are going to accept testimonials. Testimonials, you know, are a form of evidence, but they aren't good enough. And I respond to him, sorry, but you are not a researcher. You should know that a quick look at PubMed is filled with published, peer-reviewed papers on chemotherapy. And it is. Chemotherapy does work. We have the evidence. The Gerson therapy has nothing. It's quackery. Pure and simple. Ricardo responds, okay, but what about all those people sent back home to die or given a few months with chemo treatment? Healed and living functionally now. How do you explain it? I'll explain it as a failure of the chemo and the victory of the Gerson therapy. Again, this is what I said before about it only needs about one person to believe that your woo-woo treatment exists, that works, because many of these people have had chemotherapy, have had surgery, and they go on the Gerson therapy. And then all of a sudden it's the Gerson therapy that cured them, not the chemotherapy or the guy that cut out the tumour. Anyway, I respond to him, then you are an idiot for believing so. They have no evidence. The Gerson therapy worked. How do you know it is the chemo that cured them? How do you know? And they just happen to be on the Gerson therapy. Again, causation, Causation does not equal correlation. Or correlation is not equal causation, shall I say. You know, how many have been, you know, again, how many people have been visited by the magical cancer dragon? Because that's the exact same evidence Ricardo is positing, and the same type of evidence the Gerson therapy are positing when they say their therapy works. Ricardo responds, wait a minute, I do not judge you. You already did in your first comment. So don't judge me. And I will, Ricardo, because you're an idiot. Most of them did not get even chemo. So your point is not valid. Yes, they did. Most of them, or the testimonials, are heavily edited. In fact, there's a lot seem to change their stories on they had chemotherapy, then they suddenly didn't have chemotherapy, and then they did. Again, problem with you should be seeing a problem with testimonials by now. No, the Gerson therapy has theoretical aspects which make complete sense. Yes, because he just said that, and that is moronic, to say the least. These are doctors around the world pondering, proponing vegan diets to heal from cancer. Yeah, and they don't work. There is, again, vegetarians, even strict vegetarians, still get cancer and die from it. Sorry. Even people who decide to go on the Gerson therapy and find out about cancer, you know, look at their eating habits beforehand. You'll find that they're eating perfectly fine and perfectly healthy. And yet, again, they still die, get cancer and die. That's the, I can't say it enough that, it doesn't work, but, these are the people I'm dealing with. This is why I do these videos. And people get healed. It is not just the Gerson therapy, it is all around the world. Also in Italy, my country, people have gotten healed with vegetarian diets. And see, the Gerson therapy has a total sense. I reply, no, it has no evidence, none at all, that eating vegetarian diets is going to cure you from cancer. It is quackery, full stop. He responds, well, keep eating your steak and cheese. It's quackery. This is the only thing you can say. It's quackery. It is not a good method to persuade people. And I respond, and yet you have provided me with no evidence that it is not. He responds, I don't have the documentation to prove it. I'm just saying that there are lots of testimonials from Gerson Therapy, and I've said to you before, Ricardo, testimonials aren't worth jack. Saying that the Gerson Therapy is quackery means to say that all these testimonials are fake. Furthermore, there is a theoretical basis for it. It is not just pure invention. They follow a straightforward, rational approach. My point was not to make you believe the Gerson Therapy works, to make you think that saying that it is quackery is an exaggeration based on nothing. No, there is no theoretical basis at all, I respond. He was absolutely wrong. Right, and this is how wrong they are, because last year the Gerson Therapy was claiming that they were a cure for AIDS. Yes, apparently the Gerson Therapy can cure AIDS, along with a myriad of other diseases that they have, again, never shown proof to work. But they say, oh yes, we've cured it. Don't ask for evidence, but, we've cured it. They claim they can cure it, just like cancer, but they've never shown proof. How about all this stuff? And I linked to him at least, 3 links. And there is more where this came from. If you still think Gerson Therapy is not quackery, then you need to have a good talk with yourself. He responds, okay, thank you for the links, I will analyse them and come back. He responds literally seconds after posting that. But just explain to me why there are doctors who adopt Gerson Therapy for their patients. Why? Then they are not real doctors. No real doctor would ever do such a thing, and that is essentially true. Do you know how difficult it is to show this treatment works? No, actually, it'd be very simple to show it works. You have to be with the patient for at least 2 years, and yet there are clinical trials out there I have seen that have ran for five years. So no, it is not difficult in the least. Again, this guy claims to be a researcher. Check with him what's being eaten and write down. Period in the clinic is maximum 3 weeks. I respond, I do not think what is being eaten would be the important part. How about looking at the tumour size? The part that's, meant to be affecting the diet might be a bit more important than what's actually being eaten. This is your thinking. No, that would be the entire scientific community's thinking that, Ricardo. But the Gerson Therapy works basically on it. And yet they don't measure something so simple like that. So if people eat shit, they don't heal. It's important to know if you want to see whether the Gerson Therapy works or not. I respond, do you not think if eating healthily was a cure for cancer that science would have not noticed by now? At that point, I really should have stopped talking with him, but no. He responds, well, eating healthily has always been a prevention and cure for cancer. Well, Ricardo deserves a Nobel Prize for that, certainly. But there are always lots of money, and here we go, because this is what we get into now. Conspiracy theories, because this is what people like the Gerson Therapy, you name it, you name your woo-woo, these are the exact same things they are sprouting like mantra, because it is marketing for them. To try and con people like Ricardo into believing that their therapy has merit. There are lots of money and interest going on in people that are trained in the universities that the only way to cure disease is by ingesting drugs. This is how they are instructed every single day before they get a degree in some medical science. I say this because I see it. Many of them are just brainwashed by what's written in their books. There are others who have a lot of experience and they know that chemo does not work, but still are pushing chemo to people to increase their money. Again, that is just absolute wrong conspiracy nonsense. But when it comes to them or their relatives that will get cancer, they go for alternative treatments. No, 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 they do not. Why are these doctors going to Gerson to cure their cancers instead of going for chemo? No. 100% wrong and false, because if Gerson ever had a doctor go to them, they'd market the living Jesus out of it. Because they know chemo doesn't work. As Charlotte Gerson says, sometimes chemo can work. She openly admits it, but it works just temporarily, and many of the chemo people have to come back some year to get more chemo and more till they die. They don't die of chemo, they die of the cancer, but, you know, this is the type of people you have to deal with making these type of videos. How many I know personally, instead of solving the problem from the basics, no, they put more poison into their bodies. What's the logic behind it? The logic behind it is that it works and that there's evidence to it. The logic is simple. They try and poison the cancer tissue faster than the healthy tissue. This is why sometimes cancer decreases, but then it becomes a problem because their healthy tissue accumulates poison, and especially if your whole body it is not healthy, you get cancer again. No, you get probably the same amount of cancer, or if you're really unlucky, the cancer spreads to a different part of your body. Again, it has nothing to do with chemo. You know, my response was basically, ding ding ding, thank you for playing, Ricardo, but what you've just said is 100% false. I've already provided him with evidence. He's ignored it, like everyone else does. Everyone brainwashed like him does. Again, no real doctor would ever go down the Gerson therapy route. They would never subject the family member to that route at all, ever. This is, you know, these are the people I have to deal with. And trying to actually educate them, at least trying to open up, get them to think. Like, Ricardo completely ignores the AIDS thing. He completely ignores the fact that, hey, you know, if we were eating healthy, science would be noticed by now. If the Gerson therapy had any evidence that the therapy worked, they would have presented it, and they would have changed, you know, the entire scientific field by now. You know, this has been, you know, this has supposedly been a success since the 1930s, and yet, no. You know, even at the time when he first published the paper, all the scientists came back and said, what the hell is this? This is nothing. Your methods, research and doing this has been completely unscientific. All you've done is just said, I fed these people this type of food, they got better, hence it must work. That is not how you conduct a scientific test. And guess what? The standards now are a lot more strict than they were back then. And yet, Max Gerson couldn't pass his therapy because it didn't work. It didn't work back then, and it doesn't work now, and it won't work tomorrow. Anyway, we will continue making these videos because at this point it's almost a public service, because as I've said, these people are not being openly honest with their treatment, their facts, and it's I'm informing people. You know, if you are ever considering the Gerson therapy, good God, no, please, talk to me. Say why the hell you were even considering it in the first place, and I will sit down. I will talk to you why the hell you should not go down the Gerson therapy route. It is quackery, full stop. And until they actually provide evidence that it works, That is what they are. They are quacks. Charlotte Gerson is a quack.